Good evening, everyone. Township of Edison Zoning Board of Adjustment special meeting is now in session. Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975 has been provided by the annual notice published in the Home News and Tribune on December 28, 2019, and has been posted in the main lobby of the municipal complex on January 5, 2020. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to
the flag
of the United
States of America,
America,
and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible,
with
liberty
and justice.
and justice for all.
Better at that this week, guys. Roll call, please, Cassandra.
Mr. Ayotte?
Here.
Ms. Shaw?
Present.
Mr. Bignell?
Here.
Mr. Carley?
Here.
Mr. Beatty?
Here.
Mr. Patel?
Here.
Mr. Taglianetti? No, not here. Mr. Mansouri?
Here.
Mr. Shmuel?
Here.
Mr. Kamba?
Here.
Vice Chair Skibar?
Here.
And Chairwoman Federick.
Here. Good evening, everyone. A couple of notices. A minute, we'll be right there. The first case on the agenda, case Z14-2020, Shalai Patel, that case has been rescinded. So it will not be on tonight, and there's no date because it has been rescinded. Case number 3, Z43-2019, Fox and Fox, 463-465 Old Post Road. There was a problem with the notice. It has to be put on the November 17th agenda, and a new notice will be sent out by the attorney for the applicant. So having said that, please call the first case, Cassandra.
Okay, case number Z46, 2019, Main Street LLC, 2077 Oaktree Road, Edison, New Jersey, 08820. And this is for the public portion only and a vote. Section 3732, 3763-14. Use and bulk variances sought to demolish the existing building on this lot and construct a single-story building with 2 individual units. Unit A to be a quick service restaurant with a drive-through window. Unit B to be a general retail commercial use. Food services and drive-through are not permitted in this zone. Required front yard setback is 35 feet. Proposed on Oaktree Road frontage is 27.49 feet, and proposed on Plainfield Avenue frontage is 27.74 feet. Affected property is located in the OS zone, designated as Block 545Z, lot number 18 on the Edison Township tax map. All paperwork is in order.
Thank you, Cassandra. Good evening, Ms. John Basta. How are you?
Good evening. How are you?
Okay, would you like to say anything? What I am going to do before we go out to the public, I'm just going to make sure that my board has no further questions, and I see you have Mr. Valatudo here, so if they do, I'm glad he's here, but if you would like to say anything, the floor is yours.
Yeah, so at the last hearing, we concluded our affirmative testimony. We had both our civil engineer, Mr. Valatudo, Greg Paraguay, who's our traffic engineer, as well as Roger Winkle, our architect, and Ed Collins, who is our professional planner. They are all in attendance this evening, although I don't see Roger up as a panelist, but I believe he should be attendee if needed. They're all here tonight in the event that the public has any questions for them, and I would, if the chairwoman is inclined, open it to the public, and I would reserve for a closing statement.
Sure. Okay, great. Having said that, now I'm going to go to the board members. Do any of the board members have any further questions before I go out to the public?
Madam Chair, I have one question.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Betty.
And this question is actually either for Charlie or for Hank. The letter that we got this morning from the township, which is forwarded from the fire department, I wanted to understand what the effect or what the repercussions of this letter are on this case.
Mr. Bignell, Mr. Carley, either one of you can address that, please. Bignell?
I didn't see the letter from the fire department.
Oh.
Nor have we.
Oh,
Rose, I didn't see the letter from the fire department.
You want me to?
Ms. Shaw, yeah, Ms. Shaw, can you read it? I have it on my phone, but it's very, very small. Okay, Ms. Shaw will read it. She has her laptop here and she'll bring it up in email and read it to everyone.
Okay, the letter says it's addressed to Lillian Triola, dated September 16th, 2020. It says, Ms. Triola, I have reviewed the above-mentioned application. The Division of Fire finds the site plan suitable in its requirement related to the New Jersey Uniform Fire Code regulations. With the exception, there is no plan for fire apparatus turning radius, which is attached. Any questions or comments can be directed to my attention. It's regards, Brian Latham, Chief. And I will forward it right now to Ms. John Basta, Mr. Bignell, and I'm assuming Mr. Carley. So I'll just forward it to all of you.
I will wait until you get it, and then I will have either Hank or Mr. Bignell or Mr. Carley respond to Mr. Betty.
I can respond. I don't normally comment on fire marshal or fire chief's comments. He's the one who determines where his apparatus goes. But all I will say is that this is like an island, so there's like 3 road frontages. So I don't see why they would even need to bring the apparatus onto site. They could probably just park in front of the building and squirt water. But like I said, I'm not a fireman. And I don't normally comment, but I don't see the need to bring the apparatus onto site. It's so small, the property.
Madam Chair,
Who is that?
it's Charlie, Mr. Carley.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. That's because I don't see you.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Carley.
I mean, it's customary for the board to look for the fire chief's approval. It appears from the tenor of the letter that he's reviewed it and is looking for additional information. And so what we typically would do would look to the applicant to provide that additional information such that Chief Latham can send a follow-up letter that says either A, I approve of the plan as laid out, or B, I would look for revisions to the plan and then detail revisions that he thought were necessary.
And as stated by Mr. Bignell, given that the fact that this property fronts on 3 streets, I don't think that there would be an issue with regard to firefighting, but if the board were inclined to approve this application, we would certainly agree to a condition of a meeting with your fire official and making sure that he's okay with the approved plan.
Yeah, I would always hesitate to do the thinking for the fire and the emergency service providers. So just make sure you get a letter from Chief Latham that says that he's comfortable with the project.
Okay, Mr. Betty? Is that okay?
That's fine, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Okay.
And thank you both.
Okay, Mr. Skibar, you had a question?
Just to make sure I'm not muted. The second unit is designated as a retail, but could it be like a convenience store where they can serve coffee or, microwavable food?
The end user is not known at this time. I don't anticipate that would happen. Typically, when you have a tenant like a Dunkin' Donuts, they usually put a covenant within their lease or, within their lease that you cannot have a similar, retailer that sells coffee adjacent to you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other board members have any questions before I go out to the public? Okay, none. Okay, we will be going out to the public. Just a few things. Please be aware of the fact that if you were in here, this would be the same rule. You only get to speak once. When you speak, just please have it relate to this case that's in front of us, not something that has happened in the surrounding area. And I'm assuming that we won't have any time problems. If you agree with something that has been said before you, just say you agree and please add what's new for us to hear, because with all of this virtual, it's going to be a little bit different than when you're in here. So having said that, I know we have our IT gentleman here, and if you raise your hand, he will be able to tell, and we will read your name off of the screen, and we will call on you. and then Ms. Shaw, our attorney, will swear you in, and then you will be able to ask your questions. So having said that, Jeff, who's first up?
Bridget.
Bridget. Bridget, are you there?
Yes, I'm the court reporter.
Oh,
I was
okay.
hoping to get promoted to a participant.
Oh, okay.
She's on for this application.
Okay. Can you
Makes
do
her
that?
job easier. She can see her face.
Okay, that's done.
Thank you so much.
Okay, you're welcome. Okay, I'm going back out to the public again. Anyone out there, please raise your hand.
Jack Osher.
Jack Osher, sir? Jack? Okay, well, maybe he'll come back. Maybe there was a problem. There's a Ani Patil there.
Hello.
Okay.
Hi.
Our attorney will get your full name and address and swear you in.
Mr. Patil, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, would you please state your full name for the record, spelling your last, and providing your address?
Sure. My full name for the record is Anirudh, Aniruddha. Last name is Patil, Patil. And my address is 5 Marion Street, Edison, New Jersey, 08820. I don't see myself on the video screen. Should that be happening, or?
I don't think, no, as a what we call an attendee, you can't see us, we can't see you, but we can hear each other. And I will say sometimes because of the Zoom and the virtual, there is like sometimes a little bit of a lag between when we hear you or when you hear us. So just allow for that and our responses back and forth, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead. Please tell us what you would like to say.
Sure. Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Thank you, committee. As stated, my name is Ani Patil. I'm a resident of 5 Marion Street. I would also like to state that I am a physician with an MBA in healthcare management and public health policy. And I have some pretty serious concerns about this current proposal as it is. I have reason to believe that the proposal not only poses a nuisance to the residents of Marion Street and the neighboring community, but could be a danger for all those who use the street as well. Let me actually address, I don't think we did a great job last week of addressing actually what happens in Marion Street. I think they did explain what their site would do, but refused to actually take into account what actually happens on Marion Street. Marion Street, even now, is often used as a shortcut between Plainfield and Oaktree Road to, quote unquote, beat the traffic. And this leads to cars speeding and treating the stop sign at the very end of Marion Street more or less like a yield. This problem is compounded by the fact that after Marion Street merges onto Oaktree Road immediately goes from 2 lanes of traffic into 1. Effectively, you're asking for 3 lanes of traffic to go into 1 in less than 200 feet. If you observe the traffic light at Oaktree Road and Plainfield, you will see that individuals on Oaktree Road quickly accelerate after that traffic light and try and speed and trying to beat each other out to get ahead on that 1-lane merge. The most important thing I think that wasn't addressed last week, or last month, I apologize, was that Marion Street also serves as the major and only access point for Oaktree tennis courts, the only public tennis courts in North Edison. This means that during the spring and fall, we have high school students from Bishop R who use these courts as their primary tennis facility. This means that on any given day, we can have 50 to 60 high school students walking up and down Marion Street in Oaktree Road simply to get to tennis practice. School buses from other schools also park on the street and are ferrying kids from neighboring high schools onto these for their tennis matches. In the summer, the children's tennis camps are also held there, meaning that we have elementary school children running up and down Marion Street because the tennis parking lot is often full. And the overflow reflects onto Marion Street. This overflow pattern, if you observe what happens on Marion Street, occurs on a regular basis on warm days throughout the year, especially on the weekend. All of this brings me to the traffic engineer they employed's claims. and the problematic nature I found of his testimony. He kept using the phrases worst case scenario and peak hours. I actually did a count of how many times he used it throughout his testimony, but failed to emphasize that all his traffic data was taken from the middle of January of this year. I'm not sure how taking data samples in the middle of winter could accurately reflect traffic on Marion Street. He claimed that he had 20 years of experience under his belt. So my question to him is, did he not see the tennis courts there? I find that very difficult to believe. Or did he choose to ignore them because he knew it provided better numbers for his data? He then used his bias data to make computational analysis, which obviously at this point are going to be fundamentally inaccurate. Anyone with an iota of common sense could tell you that warmer weather would attract significantly more traffic to an outdoor public park. For the record, high school fall tennis seasons run from September to October. High school spring tennis seasons run from March to June. In the summer, as stated, we have those summer camps. I would also like to advise, I actually looked this up, the National Weather Service advises that the lowest temperature in the state of New Jersey is in the month of January. It would be like going to Jackson, New Jersey, the home of Six Flags, in the middle of the winter, and then claiming that traffic during this time frame was the worst case scenario. Any such claim would be asinine and ludicrous. Heck, you could go to Roosevelt Park right here in Edison and know that evaluating traffic in the winter nowhere near accounts for the actual traffic in the spring, summer, and fall. Common sense would also dictate that the traffic engineer provided inaccurate data, and I would argue was intentionally deceptive in his testimony. At no point during his testimony did he mention the existence of the tennis courts at all, but made sure to use the terms worst case scenario at least 4 times and use the term peak at least 7 times while evaluating traffic in the middle of the coldest month of the year. Mr. Pergoy also stated that most of the traffic generated will be quote unquote passerby traffic. But that still presents a problem because now this redirects traffic from Oaktree and Plainfield Road onto Marion Street and in the direct line of fire of high school students from Bishop R and other schools who come here to compete. Furthermore, both JP Stevens and John Adams cross-country teams use Marion Street as a place to run, further endangering their welfare as well. Mr. Tanglianetti, who is not here, actually made a very astute point when questioning some of these questioning traffic engineer. And he made the point that there would be no reasonable way to head back west onto Oaktree Road. If you look closely at the architectural drawing they submitted, they are asking for a single lane drive-through, which essentially traps vehicles once they are in line. And this could set up drivers to make some problematic decisions. Imagine a scenario. You stop to grab a coffee and for whatever reason, you get stuck in a drive-through lane, waiting for customers in front of you to complete their orders. We've all been there. Now, instead of being on time, you're gonna be a little late. So what options do you have? You could directly make a left turn off Marion Street onto Oaktree Road west, heading back towards the traffic light. This would, however, cross 2 lanes of traffic. As crazy as it seems, it happens. The first reasonable street to make a left turn would be Peru Street, which is immediately after the Marion Street intersection. Again, this would be an issue since that U-turn would be at the peak time of traffic at Dunkin' Donuts. And this is the site of Woodbrook Elementary and Woodrow Wilson Middle School bus stops. This would, again, not to mention that this would endanger children who are simply lining up to go to school, not to mention high school students walking to JP Stevens or Bishop R. Most drivers on Marion Street, like I said earlier, already treat that stop sign more or less as a yield. I can only imagine this getting worse if you have multiple people in a rush, essentially now merging 3 lanes of traffic into one in less than 200 feet, a recipe for disaster. Finally, let's say you are the responsible driver. You don't want to turn onto a residential street and you don't want to make that U-turn. The first reasonable business to make a U-turn would be at the Divines Pharmacy Complex down Oaktree Road, which, lo and behold, has another Dunkin' Donuts, less than 0.4 miles from the location of the proposed building, which is well within walking distance. Finally, I would like to address some of the opinions of the professional planner And I would like to bring some of my own expertise into this as well. The professional planner claimed that he drove around the area.
Hold on, Mr. Patil, this is Bhavini Shah. I'm just letting you know that you've not been qualified as an expert, nor do we have any idea what expertise the board can even consider. So you can obviously testify as a resident, and that is how the board must consider it. Okay?
I'm a physician, and I have an MBA in public health policy and healthcare management. Does that not count as expertise?
Ms. John Basta, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, I think it depends on the line of questioning, but it sounds like everything that was commented on so far relates to traffic engineering. Do you have a degree in civil engineering or traffic engineering?
I do not.
Okay, so I would ask that he not be considered as an expert in that field by the board.
Right. He can certainly be considered as a neighbor and a concerned citizen, which the board can obviously consider your testimony, but cannot consider it for that expertise.
So going forward, can I be considered? Can it be considered as expertise in the field of public health policy? It's a simple question.
Sir, you're not understanding what we're telling you. What you do as a living is not qualified or certified for us on this board to consider you as an expert. You're just telling us as a resident of the Township of Edison, and that's what we have to take from what you're saying. So you should leave out the fact that you are testifying as an expert. Just tell us what you would like to say as a resident of Edison. And I have to tell you, and I will tell everyone else that is out there, I don't usually curb the time, but I really don't want you to go on and on and on for 15, 20, 25 minutes, because I know there are probably other people out there that also want to speak. So just please say what you have to say so we can move on to the next person out there, please, Mr. Patel.
Sure. Okay. I'm going to just go ahead and then address some of the opinions of the professional planner. Again, he said he drove around the area. Again, he did not at once make notice of the presence of Oaktree tennis courts. I just find it odd that two professionals who are now experts have not made a single mention that Marion Street is the primary access point for these tennis courts. I would also argue that having high school age adolescents walk by a Dunkin' Donuts would contribute to a poor food environment and would potentially directly contribute to childhood obesity, which would be in violation of Section 2A of the municipal code.
If I may,
Yeah.
So if we could qualify the statements to the testimony and what's in the board's purview, what's in the board's purview today, it relates to a civil site plan and variances, which relate to whether there's a specific hardship and whether the site is particularly suited for the proposed use. Anything outside of that realm and what was testified to by our experts, it sounds like you're going outside of the scope of what is within the.
I mean, I'm just reading the municipal code, and I'm saying that building a Dunkin' Donuts a fast food establishment wouldn't be a healthy choice.
And their purview is related to the zoning code of Edison, not the general code of Edison.
Mr. Patil, you're entitled to your opinion. You can voice your opinion, but to ask the board to consider you as an expert in any manner with respect to this would be inappropriate. And if the board did consider it, would be a problem further on down the line. They are absolutely entitled to give weight to your testimony as a concerned citizen, and you may provide such information.
Okay. I mean, I'll shorten my testimony, and that's fine. But again, okay. So then I'll go on to Section 2H. Again, going back to what I stated earlier, Section 2H states encourage the location and design of transportation routes which will promote the free flow of traffic while discouraging locations for facility and route resulting congestion and blight. I again find it concerning that parking variances are being granted to the site since during the spring throughout the fall, parking overflow from tennis courts goes onto Marion Street. If I remember correctly, a similar situation unfolded back in the mid-2000s with relation to the Commerce Bank building on Oaktree Pond. And,
sir, again, as
okay,
I said
hear you.
at the beginning, that this was just going to be dealing with this piece of subject property, please.
Okay. I will skip that too then. I guess all I really have to say at this point is that I found that at the end of the day, taking this data in the middle of the winter, where in the location of a public park, it seems that this was done with an intent to underrepresent the traffic that actually occurs on Marion Street. I don't think you need to be an expert to make that determination. I also wanted to point out then that this is a major recreational park. It ignores the fact that the natural U-turn point, Peru Street, holds multiple bus stops for school-age children, and I think that should, at the very least, be enough to deny this proposal.
Okay,
And that's
thank
all I
you.
got to say.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Patil.
As a point of order, typically we would have, I don't know how you want to run it this evening, but typically there would be questions of our experts and then comments. So at this point, does our traffic expert have an opportunity to?
No, usually we wait till the end of the public and then we, keep track of the questions and then you can have, okay, I'm sorry, we're just having a little bit of technical difficulty here. Usually we hear from the whole public and then we give you a chance at the end to go back and have your professionals answer some of the questions that the public has put out there.
Right. I
Sure.
mean, no, they can, as the witnesses are testifying, we have done that where the experts will respond to the witnesses, and you are permitted to do that. And that's really your choice. I don't believe this particular witness had any questions of your expert. So if you want to reserve on that and we'll move on to the next person and see if they have any questions.
Yeah, well, we'll take good notes so we can.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going out to the public again. Please raise your hand if you want to be heard.
Anne Marie.
Anne Marie, would you raise your right hand?
Yes. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And please state your full name for the record, spelling your last, and provide your address.
So it's Anne Marie Pocklembo. Last name is P-O-C-K-L-E-M like Michael, B-O, Pocklembo. And I live at 496 Plainfield Road.
Okay, ma'am. I'm assuming at this point you agree with everything Mr. Patil said?
Yes,
And
except
what else
I
what
do
else?
believe, yes.
Excuse me. As I said, you have to give me a chance because there's lag time with the virtual.
Okay.
Zoom. And I was going to say, so I'm assuming you agreed with everything. So now what else new would you like to tell us?
I agree with what he says. I do think that people will attempt to make a U-turn at the tennis courts, though. I don't even think people will wait to get to Peru. I think they're going to make U-turns in the tennis court, which will pose even more of a risk of accidents because it's a crazy setup to not be able to make a left turn going back onto Oaktree. Now, I do go to Dunkin' Donuts down by Divines frequently. So if I choose to go to this new location, it'll take me approximately 5 or 10 seconds once I get out of my driveway to get to this new Dunkin' Donuts. But then to get back to my house, I don't even know how to get back to my house rather than what he was saying, make a long circuitous route across Edison. So it's not a convenient setup, certainly for exiting, because you're forced to go towards Islin. I also believe that this is going against the master plan, which I think was also stated. It's currently office zoned. So at most, I've only seen 1 or 2 cars there. Now, I grew up in this house. I've lived here on and off for 52 years. I inherited it. My parents were like original settlers. My aunt actually lived at 5 Marion in Mr. Patil's current house. I've watched it go from like a bucolic state to a crazy raceway, 4 lanes on Oaktree. And the master plan calls for like an office zoning, which is much more bucolic. I mean, I know it was like an old schoolhouse, and now we're going to propose putting a retail drive-through, which is many more cars per hour rather than day. So it just seems like way more traffic that's going to be flying through there at all hours. And I've watched the traffic increase exponentially living here. My parents helped to save the Oaktree Pond area from having a Walgreens built on it. So I'm a big proponent of trying to keep some kind of grass in Edison. I mean, I have almost an acre of land here, and it's one of the only places left where there's a yard. So I would like to just see it kept a little bit more bucolic and safe for everybody to be driving around. And that's basically what I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much. Please stay
Thank you.
safe and healthy.
You too.
I'm going out to the public. Anyone else out there would like to be heard, please raise your hand.
Vahawanti?
Yes. Did you call Lajuanti?
Hi. Would you please raise your right hand?
Yes.
You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And would you please provide for us your full name, spelling your last, and provide your address?
Yes, sure. My first name is Lajuanti and the last name is Dake. The spelling for Dake is Dhake. And my full address is 3 Marion Street, Edison, 08820.
Okay, ma'am, I'm assuming you agree with what's been said by your neighbors. Now, please tell us what new you would like us to know.
Yes, yeah, I will definitely. I am absolutely agree with Mr. Patil what he said. And I want to add some more points to it. And first of all, thank you for letting me to put my thoughts on this topic. I have several reasons to oppose this approval. First of all, the safety for my neighborhood. The suggested time for this project is 5:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. We always see crowd for such type of restaurant and convenience store, especially at night time. Anybody can come to their parking lot, which puts a concern about safety in my neighborhood. The second problem is noise. Imagine the noise problem that will arise from loading and trash removal in front of my house, as well as to my neighborhood. As this property is near a residential area, just few feet, roughly 40 feet away from houses on Marion Street. The third problem that could be a smell. The large quantities of cooking and trash will cause a smell problem to my neighborhood. And the last, that will be the major problem because of this project, that is traffic. The point to be noted here that at the crossing of the Plainfield Road and Marion Street, there is a school bus stop for the middle schooler as well as NJ transit bus stop. Excuse me, sorry. I do see people walking on Marion Street always. I stay home. And people use this bus stop and they walk instead of going by car on a Perry Street and make a U-turn and going back to Oaktree. It's really a hustle in the morning rush hour. I always see the school buses as well as the coming traffic from Plainfield Road uses Indian Marion Street to avoid the signal. As the project puts most of the traffic, which their parking shows a 20-car parking on Marion Street, which is a narrow single lane. The point to be noted, a Marion Street is a narrow single lane. These buses and cars will go through the signal, although leading to, altogether it will lead a traffic jam at the signal. And the pass-by traffic mentioned by the traffic engineer will surely block the traffic at the signal, even if the signal is green, which I always face the problem while coming back from the Oaktree to make a turn on the Marion Street. I always block the traffic even if it's green behind me. So by seeing these all problems of safety, noise, smell, and traffic, I strongly oppose the approval of suggested project. And if committee members allow me, can I ask one question out here, please?
You're free to ask your question. This is your time.
I want to ask the question here to everybody in this committee.
Wait a minute. We're having trouble hearing you. It's her. I think you're having a problem with your microphone or you're touching something because we're getting like a buzzing sound and we can't really hear your voice over the buzzing sound.
That could be my laptop, it's old, so maybe because of my computer, that problem, maybe because of my computer.
Okay, so let's try again. Let's hear your question, please.
Yeah, I want to ask the question. Everyone out here in this meeting, even the lawyer, all the experts, whoever are putting on this project for the approval in front of this committee, as well as to all committee members, how many of you will allow such kind of project in front of your home? Thank you. Thank you I appreciate for the time.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm going out to the public again. Is there anyone else out there that would like to be heard? Please raise your hand.
Okay. Yogesh, if you would please unmute yourself, raise your right hand. Do you
Hi.
solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yeah. Hi.
And,
Yes.
hello, okay, just, you guys have to wait for us to finish, so hopefully we're not overlapping in terms of sound. Would you please state your full name for the record, spelling your last, and provide your address?
Okay. My name is Yogesh Dhake. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. My name is Yogesh Dhake, and I live on the 3 Marion Street.
I'm sorry, where do you live?
3 Marion Street.
Marion, okay.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to say the same thing. I'm assuming you agree with everything that's been said before you, and now you can just tell us what new you would like us to know, please.
Sure. Okay. So basically, I'm a father of 2 young kids. Okay. And I bought this property because I wanted to have a great school district and safe for my kids. And as people earlier pointed out, because of this project and the way this project is designed, the traffic on the road is going to increase, and that puts my kids' safety in question for me. That's one point I want to raise here. There's one more point which, like, I agree to what point said by this point of time, but I will really like, I like to say that there is 2 major traffic issues what I can see at this point of time. There is a loop of entry and exit. That's one of the things which I think I'm pretty much sure you guys have noticed that, but I've seen that there's a entry point is later than exit on one-way street. Okay, that's one thing. There's another point what I noticed which not talked about any time is that there is an exit on Oaktree, which is a 40 miles per road, plus that road which turn from the Dover Road, which is a quite big left turn, and vehicle comes on the speed. So there is a fair chances of accident on that road. Okay, that's one point. And as I live on the one-way road, it will be very hard for a person like me to get out on this one-way road itself. Another point, I think probably nobody has talked, the noise pollution to residential neighborhood here. Basically, you are talking the 5 to 11 hours of window. I'm pretty much sure you must have seen how the trash collection will happen at middle of night. All commercial trash collection happen middle of night. They do backing up, and it will be huge amount of noise will come on the residential section where the residence nearest residence is 40 feet away really. Plus, I do see that there will be always noise overflow from the drive-through window as well as light coming from this system on the neighboring houses. Okay, and I think to conclude this, I would say that I would strongly oppose this project. The reason is simply it is hamper the safety. I'm sorry, and one more point I really forgot to tell is that essentially Plainfield Street near this property is a bus stop for my New York 819 bus, and people walk on Marion Street to reach to this bus stop, and that their safety is in jeopardy here. So being this all point in consideration, I like you committee member to make a decision to oppose this plan and make sure that the resident safety and is not impacted out here. Okay, and why I believe you are making too much commercialization, and I think that will change the demographic of our neighborhood. And if you know that, if you see the master plan, this whole neighborhood from Oaktree to Stephenville is completely residential. This is the only plant which is a professional building, and you are changing the structure of my neighborhood and my neighborhood safety really, because anyone can come on this commercial property. And I will stop my staying out here with this all point, but I would like to really strongly oppose this plan.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going back out to the public. Anyone else out there, please raise your hand.
Last number 8735.
The person calling in with the number 8735, please let us have your name.
Crystal, Middlesex County.
Oh, okay,
Hold it.
hold on. Okay, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, state your full name for the record, spelling your last, and provide us with your address.
Is this meeting run with the Open Public Meetings Act Sunshine Law?
Yes, it is.
Well, I'll provide my name, but I do not have to provide my address then. Can you please respect my rights?
Well, right now, we are hearing from people that are just within 200 feet of the property in question. If you are not within 200 feet of the property, you're going to have to wait until we hear all of the people that are within 200 feet of the property. So,
Okay, I just have one question. Because I can't.
Sir, are you within 200 feet of the property?
No.
All right,
Okay.
then please go off, and you're going to have to wait until after we get through the people within 200 feet of the property, and then we'll call on you again when you raise your hand, okay?
Okay, don't forget me. Thank you.
I'll make a last call. You'll hear me call for any questions out of 200 feet of the property. I always do that. That's part of the procedure of our meeting, sir. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm going out to the public again within 200 feet of the property. Anyone else out there, please raise your hand. Patil? Another
Okay.
Patil?
I'm waiting to see, okay. On?
Mr. Patil or Ms. Patil, are you there?
Oh, there we go.
Are you the same Ms. Patil as before?
No, okay.
I am Pratima Patil.
Okay, hold on, please, okay. Ms. Patil, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state your full name for the record, spelling your last, and provide your address.
Pratima Patil. Last name is P for Paul, A, T for Tom, I, L for Larry. And I live on 5 Marion Street, Edison, New Jersey, 08820.
Okay, I assume that you agree with everything that has been said before you, correct?
Yes, I do.
Now, please tell us what you would like to add for us to know, please.
I would like to just let you know that I am a teacher for the past 18 years or more. And with that, I am primarily concerned with the safety of the kids who walk up and down the streets. That is what I see all the time. And I know how kids react and how kids behave. And so that really raises concerns. If you are going to have a lot of increased traffic on 5 Marion Street, that besides stating that, yes, I agree with everything that has been said, I would like to add that I am even more concerned about the kids. Apart from that, I am concerned with the light that is directly going to be it is going to add to or it is going to get into my house, because even if the property is not a 24/7 property, even if they are not going to be running 24/7, there are going to be the signs for whatever restaurant is going to be open. That sign is going to remain lit throughout the night. The retail property probably will have lights of its own. Even if they are dimmed down, there are still going to be lights which are going to come into my house because I'm directly across from the property. And I am going to have all of the traffic lights from the cars that are parked in front of my house. So all of that light is definitely going to be something I probably will have to keep my blinds closed all the time with all the light coming into my house. Besides that, when it was a real estate property, there were only a limited number of cars coming in there. Now with a drive-through restaurant, there are going to be many people. Again, we don't know who those people are. There could be random people coming in and out for a short period of time. I feel unsafe because I don't know who's going to be watching my property when they are going to be parked across from my house. Another thing I would like to point out is the garbage, which of course, with that being a commercial property, there is going to be additional garbage there. Besides that, the property next to my house is also owned by the same people who own Century 21, and I have had garbage spilling over from their property into my property all of the time. And that is my concern. If they couldn't regulate that, are they going to be able to regulate the property across the street? And I have pictures of that. I have called the township regarding that issue too, because I've had garbage flying into my property and I have had to clean up all of that mess, which I'm not really interested in doing that for another restaurant across my street. Apart from that, really, I would like to ask you, all of the board members, would you be okay if something like that is coming across your house? I really, it's a concern. It's something that worries me. It's something that I was not prepared for when I bought this property. And so I really strongly oppose to anything being constructed over there and adding to the nuisance adding to the nuisance here.
Okay, fine. Thank you so much, Ms. Patel.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going back out to the public. Anyone within 200 feet of the property, please raise your hand.
Greater Mom.
Okay, person who comes online as ninth grader mom, would you please raise your right hand?
Sure.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please state your full name for the record, spelling your last, and provide your address.
Barvi Stahlhammer, spelled Stalhamer. I live on 26 Nottingham Road. Not sure how the distance is from that, but I know my kids.
Hold it, wait a minute. Did you receive a notice in the mail, certified mail?
I did not.
Okay, so then I think you're outside of the 200 feet, but we're just going to double check. And if that's so, I'll just ask you to wait until the end, until I get through the 200 feet people. But if you just hold on a minute, we're just going to check the 200-foot list just to make sure. Okay, no, you're outside of 200 feet. So if you don't mind, just get off now. And then when I call for people outside of 200 feet, we'll come back to you, okay?
Sure, I am in walking
Thank you so much.
distance.
I really appreciate it. Okay, I'm going back out to the public. Within 200 feet of the property, meaning you received a certified return receipt notice in the mail. If you are out there and you want to be heard, please raise your hand.
Nicholas?
Nicholas, please unmute yourself. Okay, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, could you please state your full name for the record, spelling your last, and provide us with your address?
Sure. Penelope Nicholas, Nicolas, and I'm at 509 Plainfield Road, Edison, New Jersey, 08820.
Okay, I assume you agree with everything that's been said before you, and just please let us know what you would like to add to that.
Sure. Yes, I agree to everything that was said before, but I'd like to answer a question that the board had at the last meeting, which was, were there any homes on Plainfield Road that would be affected by this? The applicant did not answer that question, but the answer is yes. From my living room window and bedroom windows, I can see that property, which means I will now be seeing a Dunkin' Donuts sign all night out long from the lights. I will also be able to hear the noise of the trucks coming in at 5 o'clock in the morning until whatever night time the last delivery is made. I will also hear the traffic, hear the honking of the traffic because the traffic is bad now. There was also a comment at the last meeting that there is a block the box in front of Marion Street. Any traffic engineer that spends 5 minutes on this road will know that it is never respected. There are cars that are always blocking the box. So I want to say that I firmly disagree and hope that the board will make the logical choice and reject.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Nicholas. I'm going back out to the public within 200 feet, meaning you received a notice by certified mail in the mail. If you are out there, please raise your hand. Okay, one.
Mr. Patel, would you unmute yourself? Would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And please state your full name for the record, spelling your last, provide your address.
My name is Sandeep Patel, 14 Marion Street, Edison, New Jersey, 08820. My last name is P-A-T-E-L.
Okay, Mr. Patel, I assume you agree with everything that has been said before you, so please tell us what else you would like us to know about this property.
Yes, I do agree with all the concerns. My neighborhood already proposed that one. One more question regarding that one. I'm living across 14 Marion Street. So when I have to make the left turn on Plainfield Road, it's going to be very difficult in the morning when I'm going to the work. Now, after putting this property, it's going to be, I think, almost impossible after that. So in that case, I think I have to call each and every day police to be over here to let me make me the left turn over here. So that is the biggest concern. Also, I can see that property from my window. So I definitely the lights and everything gonna be affected. Also, the drive-through is on the Plainfield Road side. So when they're making the orders, I'm definitely hearing all over the after 9 o'clock up to whenever they close that time. So that is our sleeping time mostly. So it's gonna definitely bother us. So I'm strictly opposing this. But thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Patel. Okay, I'm going back out to the public again. Within 200 feet of the property, meaning you received a notice by certified mail in the mail. Anyone out there, please raise your hand.
Dr. Prasad, if you could unmute yourself.
I
Would
did.
you raise your right hand? You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And please state your full name for the record, spelling your last, and provide your address.
Sudhanshu Prasad, P-R-A-S-A-D, and my address is 15 Marion Street, Edison, 08820.
Okay, I assume you agree with everything else that has been said before you, so please tell us what else you would like us to know.
Sure, thank you. Well, I've lived on the street for more than 25 years. And, we have always known that this is a business zoned property. On this street, small children live. Marion Street is a very narrow one-way street, at least that portion of the Marion Street. We will welcome any business that will come here, but only business for which it is zoned. The master plan was approved less than 10 years ago, and they did not change the neighborhood, the restrictions on that particular property for a good reason. The reason was that it is largely a residential property. The streets are not meant for commercial, large scale commercial, which is not OS zoned. So, what's happening right now is that we are changing something for which it is not zoned. You know, this property, like any other property on Oaktree Road, and you all know Edison as good as I do, I'm sure, you know, it's a hot property. Someone will come and, you know, buy the property or bring business to that property in a heartbeat. You know, Oaktree Road is like almost like Manhattan. Some of the rents are as high as anywhere else in the state. And, you know, the businesses that come here will carry themselves on their own 2 feet. They do not need any support. In the Dunkin' Donut, which is less than half a mile away, other businesses are around the corner from here. Does not need to be any variances granted. I think any business that will come here on its own, on their own strength, just like Century 21, will flourish. You know, whatever will come on their own strength will flourish there. Edison Zoning Board does not have to do heavy lifting for in business. This is heavy lifting for Dunkin' Donut. For what reason? You know, if there was no Dunkin' Donut in 10-mile radius, I would say, hey, go ahead. Somebody likes Dunkin' Donut, you know, more than anything else. Please bring Dunkin' Donut. You know, whatever sacrifice the town has to make, whatever sacrifice the neighborhood has to make, go ahead. But what will you be doing this sacrifice for? The neighborhood will change, the street will change, the children who use this this neighborhood, the tennis court, and you got to remember on the other side of the Marion, it's of course the baseball field. So we always have some cross traffic, some parking, overflow parking everywhere during summer. So actually the tennis court is not the only one. We also get overflow parking from the baseball, Little League baseball during summer. So this is not something that that's needed to bring any business. You know, in 10, 15 years, I'm sure the traffic will get more. Probably the township will come back and say, hey, we need to widen the Marion Street because we are getting too much traffic. Where will you do that? If you grant them variances, if you build too close to the roads that they are right now, you know, I think considering all this, you should absolutely not grant any variances. We would welcome any business that will come there, stand on its own 2 feet, not on the shoulders of the zoning board. This is OS zoned by on the master plan, which is less than 10 years old. If they considered that this is what we should do, they would have done that. They would have done that. The council and the mayor's office worked on that plan diligently, very diligently, and it did not come. And I don't think this zoning board, your esteemed members, all of you, you know the neighborhood. You know, there is absolutely no reason to give any variances. And on top of that, the fire marshal has raised very valid question. And I think there should be absolutely no way that anything can be approved without even a clearance from the fire marshal. But I think it can be rejected without the fire marshal's further input. Thank you, zoning board.
Thank you. I'm going back out to the public again, meaning within 200 feet. If you received a notice in the mail by certified mail, please raise your hand if you'd like to be heard. Okay, one more call. Anyone within 200 feet of the property and you received a notice in the mail by certified mail, if you want to be heard, please raise your hand. I will now go out to the public outside of 200 feet of the property wanting to be heard. Please raise your hand.
Call in 5.
Someone's out there, 8735.
Crystal, Middlesex County.
Okay, I think I've already sworn you in. Is this Mr. Markopoulos?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, please
I
just...
didn't mention my name, my last name, but yes.
Yes, well, we know. Would you please state your full name and spell your last? I understand you do not want to give your address. Ms. John Basta, do you have any issues with that?
No, so long as it's noted by the board that he's outside of 200 feet, and therefore we don't know if he's actually an interested party under the municipal land use law to comment on the application or what weight to provide to his comments. Thank you.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
I did ask just for the record that you would please spell your last name, as there is a transcriber and virtually it's very hard to keep track. We do need a proper transcript.
The first
no
and last
problem.
name, please.
Okay. My first name.
First name, yes.
Chris, Christo. And you ready for my last name?
We are.
Makropoulos.
Okay, sir, what would you like to tell us?
Well, I came in late, so I just want to ask, are we just gonna is there gonna be more resolutions after this, or we're just speaking on this resolution right now, Marion Street with the Dunkin' Donuts, correct?
That's all we're doing this evening, correct? Because the other two cases, one was rescinded, one was put off, and that's it. Yes.
Oh, but we are in public comments right now, correct?
Yes, we are. That's why I called for people with the outside of 200 feet of this property. So what would you like to tell us about this property?
Okay, I just want to say when this meeting started, the moment this meeting started, people were encouraged not only to speak for this resolution to stay on topic, but according to Sunshine Law and Open Public Meetings Act, once public comments kick in, I mean, people can start talking about the International Space Station, even though I'm not going to.
Sir, I'm sorry. This is a zoning board, and that is the only thing that we are here for, is the zoning for Edison Township.
I was just,
not about international space stations.
Listen, I was just making a statement right before I was going to talk about the Dunkin' Donuts. So may I continue without being interrupted?
Well, yes, you may, but please stay on topic.
I will stay on topic. I'm allowed to make a statement during public comments. The Supreme Court ruling allows this. So if I may continue, Lozman versus Riviera Beach, Florida, Supreme Court ruling also says I cannot be interrupted when I have the floor. May I continue?
Actually, sir, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm the attorney for the board, and you can be interrupted if it is not fruitful to what this board must consider.
Do I have the
I'm
floor
sorry,
right
sir.
now?
I'm speaking right now. The transcriber cannot take both of us down. Ms. John Basta, do you also want to weigh in, as you are permitted to do so?
Yes, I don't mind any sort of public comment, but so long as it's related to this specific application, that's what the board is hearing at this particular time.
Absolutely. I know that. Do I have the floor?
Yes, please continue, and please say what you would like to say.
Absolutely. And please don't interrupt me. Thank you. And you would understand the point that I'm trying to make. We have too many Dunkin' Donuts in Edison. I got one just a few feet from my house. I'm on the other side of town though. And I just want to say we have too many Dunkin' Donuts. Stop selling out Edison to multinational corporations. Many people before me, they said some good points. One point that hasn't been brought up, to a residential neighborhood, is just another excuse for drug addicts and predators to loiter the area. And as I heard other people speak before, there are children in the area, and we got to keep that in mind. It's time to protect our children. And going back to what I was saying before, any public meeting, it doesn't matter if it's planning board, zoning board, board of education, town council. Once the public comment sits, and we're not and we're actually in the public comments, somebody they can speak for like I said before, I wasn't going to, But yes, somebody can speak for the International Space Station, and it's not good to start off like that. And I have nothing else to say. I was just going to keep it short, and I'm sure there are other people that have something to say, so I'm going to yield my time and have a good night now.
Thank you so much. I think there's another young lady out there from Nottingham Road. Are you still there, ma'am? Stellhammer, are you there? Okay, anyone outside of 200 feet of the property wanting to be heard, please raise your hand.
Ma'am, would you, okay, thank you. Would you raise your right hand and do you solemnly swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please state your full name for the record, spelling your last, and provide your address.
Elizabeth Talke, Talke, 15 Midwood Avenue, Edison.
Hey, what would you like to tell us, ma'am?
I agree with what everybody has said tonight. I don't live directly in that neighborhood. I live farther down Oaktree on almost the Island border. And I am concerned for these residents there, as well as everything that was said tonight, including the light pollution, the air pollution from cars idling there, waiting in line through the drive-through, as well as the trucks that are making their deliveries, which probably aren't going to turn off their engines so they can quickly get in and out to deliver their goods that they need for these retail establishments, as well as the fact that they're asking for too many variances for to put buildings and parking spots on too small of a piece of area. You will have inadequate parking there, so there aren't enough spaces for what's zoned as it is in that area. I currently live down the street from where the Walgreens was approved years ago. Oversized building, not enough parking spots, where all of the workers as well as people going into the establishment park on the back street, Charles, as well as the trucks, so that they don't have to get in and out on that busy corner. They will park on the residential streets because there is no room. There is inadequate parking there. Where are the workers who are working in these places going to park? Are they going to be parking on these people's street? And the quality of life for these residents there, it's going to really be atrocious. Unfortunately, this is the businesses that are going to be open 7 days a week for over 12 hours a day. These people will not get any reprieve from it whatsoever. If it was at least an office building as it's zoned for, the people would get a break and it wouldn't be nonstop 24/7 for them. So I strongly urge you to please take into account the quality of life and the master plan, and please vote down this proposal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Okay, I'm going to do one more call. I'm going to people outside of 200 feet of the property that may want to be heard. Please raise your hand. Anyone else out there that wants to be heard?
Do you solemnly swear? Oh, wait, hold on. I have two people on.
Okay.
Hold on one second.
Hello.
Mr. Keller, okay. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state your full name for the record, spelling your full name for the stenographer, as well as providing us with your address.
First name Mandar, Mandar. Last name Kelkar, Kelkar. My address is 2007 Oaktree Road, Edison 08820.
Okay, sir, what would you like to tell us?
So, yeah, I concur with Mr. Anil, as the building of Dunkin' Donut is definitely going to cause more hardship to the residents, not only to the Marion Street, but also on those who live on Oaktree Road. The board here needs to weigh the balance between the safety of pedestrians, residents, and the commercial profits the Dunkin' Donut seeking here. The congestion of the traffic on the Oaktree Road will certainly pose a risk to the pedestrians and small kids. There is also a risk of littering and accumulation of trash, which I have been witnessing very often in my front yard caused by ongoing traffic. With the Dunkin' in the place, the risk of this risk is increasing, and the littering of the risk will be increased. And I strongly oppose this project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I believe there's someone else out there that wants to be heard. Please raise your hand.
Okay. Okay. Would you please raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, please state your full name for the record, spelling your full name and providing your address.
My name is Ishit Vachrajani. The last name is Vachhrajani. And the address is 13 Peru Street, Edison, New Jersey, 08820.
Okay, sir, what would you like to tell us?
So I agree with all the points that have been made by my neighbors so far. Few things that I want to highlight, that this issue is not just relevant to people living on Marion Street. Peru Street, there is a bus stop, which is just few houses down on Peru Street, where at least 15 to 20 kids, both for elementary, middle school, as well as high school, catch the bus. And we are concerned about traffic coming into the Peru Street to make a U-turn, affecting the safety of these kids at different times during the day, both in the morning as well as the school drop-off hours. The second point I have is somebody talked about the baseball and softball field, NABS, that is just across the Oaktree Road. And there are a number of kids from this neighborhood that play there for a number of years, including my daughter, and they bike to NABS often. And they take the path to Marion Street or the Oaktree Road, and the increased traffic will jeopardize their safety as well. In summary, the question here, and I think Dr. Prasad raised this, that we are looking to grant an exception. And so we need to really figure out what is a good reason to grant this exception. And there was a reason why this was zoned a certain way. And overall quality of the neighborhood and effect that it has on all the residents around here, I strongly urge all the board members to vote this down.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
I'm going out to the public again. Anyone outside of 200 feet of the property wanting to be heard, please raise your hand.
No, I think ninth grader mom is, did not get an opportunity to
Right,
speak.
that's the lady.
That was Ms. Dahlhammer, I believe.
Are you out there? Are you the lady from Nottingham Road?
Hold on, she can't, yeah, there she can.
Hello?
Hi, is this Barbie Stahlhammer?
Yes, it is.
Okay, I've already sworn you in. You're from 26 Nottingham Road and you're outside of the 200 feet. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And I am in walking distance.
I'm sorry?
I'm in walking distance to that area. So very much familiar with that corner, and I have to agree with the previous comments to disapprove of changing the zoning of that location that is presented to the board here. The intersection is already very busy, and I have children who walk to the tennis courts there and utilize them. It's an extremely busy spot, and it is extremely used where some days they don't even get a spot to play. And so it is and the only access to those tennis courts, if you were to drive, is through Marion Street. So I think it is important for those who are not familiar with the area to know that. And I am concerned with the safety. On Nottingham, I know that there are people who cut from Plainfield through my street and through the back to get onto Oaktree, which will get them right around the Divine's Pharmacy and the Dunkin' Donuts that's there currently. So I'm very familiar with even the back cut that a lot of people do. And so it is an extremely busy area.
Okay, thank you so much. Is that all you wanted to say?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, last call. Anyone outside of 200 feet of the property wanting to be heard, please raise your hand.
Are they?
Would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God? Mr. Garpati? Hello, can you hear us?
If you're on mute, please take yourself off mute.
He's not on mute. Mr. Garpati, can you?
I am able to hear you.
Okay, all right. Would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Okay, would you please state your full name, spell your full name for the record, and provide your address?
It's a Jitendra. Last name is Ghorpade. Ghorpade. And 1404 Marywood Drive, Edison.
Okay, sir, what would you like to tell us?
So first, I would say that I am a resident. I am not a citizen of USA, but can I still speak? Can I?
Yes, sure, go ahead.
Okay. So I am having real concern because for the grocery and everything, we are going on the Oaktree Road, and it's a lots of traffic over there, and there is no parking spots also in that area. So I have concern like what will happen, like lots of traffic and accident concern and like that. So.
Okay, is that all you want to tell us?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you so much, sir. Okay, anyone else outside of 200 property wanting to be heard, please raise your hand.
Mr. Pandya, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And would you please state your full name for the record, spelling your full name, and provide your address?
My name is Yash Pandya. First name is Yash. Last name is Pandya, Pandya. And address is 20 Arbor Circle.
Okay, sir, what would you like to tell us?
So I would just like to echo some of the concerns that the previous residents have brought up. And the reason for this is sometimes students in our community are forgotten when it comes to issues like this, when it comes to zoning issues and property related items like this. And I would like to reinstate and reinforce the idea that this movement can really affect our children and our students in the area. The Edison public schools and the surrounding schools are already overcrowded. So I would like to recommend, with all due respect to the zoning board, please think about our students in this kind of area. There's already a large amount of traffic and a large population of students that go in and out around the tennis courts in this area. So please consider that and keep that in your considerations in your decision making. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. Okay, anyone else outside of 200 feet of the property wanting to be heard, please raise your hand.
Amal, would you raise your right hand? And do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, please state your full name for the record, spelling your full name, and then provide your address.
Yeah, my name is Amol Narkhede. That's AMOL. The last name is Narkhede. That's NARKHEDE. And I stay on 11 Devon Road, which is walkable to this tennis courts.
Okay, sir, what would you like to tell us?
So I definitely agree with whatever was said so long. I'm probably not adding much, but I would like to reemphasize that I am a father of 2 kids, and my kids bike around the area. They go to tennis courts to play. Sometimes they walk. And in the summer, we have seen that we don't even get place to park our cars when we go to tennis courts. So we have to bike or walk, and which is great because it's walkable distance from my street. So I'm not sure how the situation will be when there will be even more cars on that road, because we don't get parking even for playing tennis. So, and you're going to add more cars on that road. I just don't understand how's that's going to work, and how the kids who go there to play tennis, how they are going to do. And not only tennis, kids go to the Bishop Arc High School's ground there, crossing the Oaktree Road, and to jog or to play soccer or everything. I see so many kids doing that. So considering all that, I think this is not a very good idea, and the board should listen to the residents and then make a informed choice.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, I'm going back out to the public. Anyone outside of 200 feet wanting to be heard, please raise your hand. Okay, there's no hands raised. I am now closing the public portion. Okay, Ms. John Basta, the floor is yours to address any of what you heard and for a summation, please.
Just to reiterate, to address some of the public's comments, I just like to reiterate some of the testimony that was previously given, I suppose. With respect to the students in the tennis courts, there was testimony from our traffic engineer previously that the peak hours related to this use are the very early morning hours, that 80% of the traffic arrives from 6 a.m. to 9 p.m., and that there's very little within the afternoon, as well as weekend traffic. There's also no kitchen on this site. There's, you can heat up food, but there's not a significant kitchen on the site where you'd be having the odors from the food. Trash pickup would happen probably 4 times a week, but there was testimony given that any sort of trash would occur after the peak hours, around the 9 o'clock hour or later during the day for trash, and that there shouldn't be too much impact on the surrounding properties. Lights, there was previous testimony given that this is not a 24-hour operation, that they intended to operate probably from 5 a.m. to 10:30 p.m., possibly 11, but that all lighting would be shut off on the site at least a half hour after the business closes. And we can stipulate that that is both site lighting as well as facade lighting. There's also a landscape perimeter around the entirety of the development site, including around the parking spaces on the site that would also shield lights from vehicles from entering any sort of house. With respect to deliveries, there was also testimony that there was only one box truck type delivering. It doesn't have backup beepers. It's not a tractor trailer that would be coming on site to drop off donuts and coffee supplies in the morning, and then maybe 2 deliveries for other materials during the week, which would happen again on off-peak hours, probably that 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. hour. When there's a state law that when trucks are delivering that they must turn off their engines, so there will be no idling of engines on site. With respect to the traffic pattern, we can have our traffic engineer testify to that more, but the traffic pattern, essentially, it is what it is today. You have traffic that goes out onto Oaktree and goes out onto Marion. And it would be very hard, if not impossible, to find any use or any other different traffic pattern that can accommodate this site. And I'll get into that more in a moment. Levels of service are levels D at all the intersections, and they will not be increasing as a result of this use. With respect to the setbacks, the closest residential property to our drive aisle lanes, not even to the business, but to the drive aisle lanes, is approximately 120 feet away. So there will not be a lot of noise that will be heard from the use at the site to these residences. Additionally, with respect to the setbacks, previously, and what exists on the property today, there is an existing structure that's set back 3.5 feet, and we're proposing to bring back the building 27.74 feet on Marion. That's our greatest, residential street. So with respect to that, I think a lot of the public comments are addressed with the previous testimony that was granted. I do understand that was about a month ago. But I think a lot of the concerns are addressed. Additionally, I'd also respectfully submit that the applicant has satisfied the statutory proofs for the granting of a use variance and for the bulk variances that were requested. This is not a case of a greedy developer trying to max out his lot and building potential for profit. The applicant is seeking to construct a modest building. The building that's being proposed on this site is less than 3,500 square feet. Some people might have homes that are larger than the size of this structure. The overall building coverage is only 12.5%, where I believe 25 is permitted within this zone. Where it's all, what the applicant is not greedy, but they're seeking a realistic opportunity to have a successful use on this site and what's constructed here. The property is a unique piece of property. It's essentially an island onto itself that has frontage on 3 roadways, 2 of which are county highways. It is triangular in shape and possesses significant practical difficulties for development. Due to the existing street grid, there are limited options for ingress and egress out of the site. This is true regardless of any use that is proposed on this property. Due to the constraints of the property and the uniqueness of it, I submit to you that a coffee donut shop like Dunkin', where the majority of the patrons who enter the site are passed through traffic, is a better use than what is permitted by the zoning code. A person who is looking to enter a coffee Dunkin' Donuts site is traveling down Oaktree Road, sees the Dunkin', enters the site, exits back out onto Oaktree Road, and continues onto his predetermined traffic course. This is not a destination site. What is allowed in this zone are destination uses. It is medical office, professional offices, limited retail like bookstores. People would be coming to the site for a specific purpose and then more than likely trying to return to their home. It would not be passed through where they're just coming into the site and continuing their travel. Usually, as this board I'm sure knows, if it's not convenient for you to enter a Dunkin' Donuts, you just simply don't do it. So for that reason, I believe, and I think the testimony supports that this is a better use for the site than what actually the code permits. Additionally, the property is also uniquely suited to house a drive-through for the same reasons. It caters to bypass traffic. Due to this irregularly shaped lot, which is triangular in shape, there was testimony that was given by both our civil engineer and the planner that this is extremely hard to design a site where it would accommodate appropriate parking spaces and parking and a site layout for any use. Here, the drive-through actually eliminates the need for additional parking, which makes it uniquely suited for this particular site. We also must remember that the property is not located in a residential zone. It's located in a commercial zone where commercial uses are permitted, although not the specific uses that are proposed. Because your code says if it's not expressly permitted, it's prohibited. Here, there's very limited retail that's proposed, like bookstores. But there are heavily trafficked uses that are permitted, such as offices, which would have peak hours that would coincide with the use of those tennis courts down the street. When children, they would be leaving around 5 o'clock at night, where I'm sure those children are using those tennis courts. Here, the traffic is very early in the morning for the proposed Dunkin' Donuts. So I would say because that this is a commercial use within a commercial district, it fits into the character of the area as was testified to by our planner. Moreover, the applicant has taken great care into its design and site layout. Like I said, the building and the drive lanes are set back more than 120 feet from the closest residence. There's extensive landscaping that's proposed around the site to shield any sort of lighting that may occur, although our civil engineer did testify that there would be no spillage off of the site with respect to lighting. Further, our architect testified in great detail that a lot of architectural design and design elements went into the design of this property to fit into and to blend into a more residential characteristics. This is not your generic, just commercial strip that is being thrown up here. This is something that was worked out to and the design which your professional planner actually requested and which the applicant accommodated. All four faces of the facade will have that architectural detail. An approval of this application would be much more aesthetically pleasing than the lot that's out there today and the structure that's existing today. For these reasons, I submit to the board that it is fully within your authority to grant this variance. I believe the proofs have been satisfied, and I would ask for a favorable vote tonight. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ambassador. Having heard her summation, I'm going to close this matter, and I will go to the board, but I will say first, I want to thank the public out there. You're very well organized and very cooperative, and I have to thank you for that. So having said that, I will go to the board, please, for a motion.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Mr. Kamba.
Madam Chair, I would like to make a motion to deny this application. I believe that the applicant has not met all the negative and positive criteria. The site is not particularly well suited for the use intended, and it would be a detriment to the public good and public safety. The application is an overly intense use for this site. Both the internal and external traffic patterns would serve as a detriment to public safety. The project does not provide the safe flow of traffic between the drive-through entrance and parking lot, nor does it provide for safe crossing for pedestrians accessing the walk-in retail stores. In fact, pedestrians accessing the building would have to cross over the drive-through lane to access the coffee shop or retail store. Externally, the project is dependent on Marion Street, one-way residential street. Not only can this street not handle the additional traffic resulting from this project, which would be a detriment to public safety, the effects of the traffic on the site would be a detriment to the public good for residents. Further, vehicles exiting this site from any of the egress locations would be limited to only being able to travel eastbound on Oaktree Road. This would not only cause a safety issue, but would also result in additional unnecessary traffic on residential streets. This was confirmed by the applicant's traffic expert, who stated during testimony when questioned on accommodating eastbound motorists, stated, "You have to use the roadway network to get back, unfortunately." As proposed, access to this site is limited to Marion Street and vehicles traveling eastbound on Oaktree Road. Given its location at a major intersection of Oaktree Road and Plainfield Road, this project would be a detriment to public safety for vehicles attempting to access the site from Oaktree Road traveling westbound and southbound traffic traveling on Plainfield Road. The proposed hours of operation for the coffee shop were testified as being from 5:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. These early and late hours will negatively impact the quality of life for neighboring residents, given the flow of traffic into and out of this site with accompanying noise and headlights shining into their homes at these hours. Given these reasons, Madam Chair, I make a motion to deny.
Thank you, Mr. Kamba. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I will second the motion. I do agree with Mr. Kamba in that this is an over-intensified use, and the traffic patterns do pose a safety risk.
Okay, thank you. Just one moment, please. Ms. Shaw will explain something because we have a motion to deny on the floor.
Okay, just for clarity, there is a motion to deny. So if you vote yes on the motion, you might want to just say yes on the motion to deny. If you vote no, it means that you're not in agreement to deny. Did I make that clear?
Yes, and that's what I wanted to make clear because we've had a problem in the past with that. So if you agree with the motion, it's yes to deny, and naturally the other is if you approve. So having said that, we have a motion, we have a second. I will go for a roll call, please.
Mr. Kamba,
Yes on the motion to deny.
Mr. Mansouri,
Yes on the motion to deny.
Mr. Shmuel,
Yes on the motion to deny.
Mr. Patel,
Yes on the motion to deny.
Mr. Beatty,
Yes on the motion to deny.
Vice Chair Skibar,
Yes on the motion to deny.
and Chairwoman Frederick.
Yes on the motion to deny. We have a unanimous denial.
Yep.
Okay, do we have?
As always, thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Ms. John Batista. Do we have any resolutions? No. Okay, then we need a motion to adjourn to go into closed session because we can't come back. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Because I can see your mouse moving now. Okay, everybody has the information to go to closed session?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Hang up, call back. See you in a few seconds. Bye. Good night, everyone.